Hi Year 6, welcome back. It's Wednesday and halfway through the week, and I'm going to talk to you a little bit more today about what we're doing with our writing. So today we're actually going to be doing our writing our poems. So you've spent the last 2 days developing your word banks, and yesterday at the end of the session you started to order some of those words and phrases, thinking about how what order you want to put those in, what words you want to use in your poem. And today we're going to be developing that and actually writing our poems. So I'm going to share my screen with you because this is what you'll be looking at home on our PowerPoint. So the first thing is something you may have already done yesterday, but you might want to review that today, is thinking about all these words and phrases. And actually, we're also going to be putting up, we've also got our collective word bank loaded up on Padlet that we've brought together all of the words that you have sent in to us and then put them all together so you have access to the Year 6 group word bank. So if you're struggling with a particular verse and some vocabulary or some phrases to use there, this is your chance to go and have a little look and to magpie some ideas just like we would in the classroom. So first of all, thinking about which words do you want to use, which phrases do you want to use, what's going to have that impact? And then you can use again the technique we had yesterday, ordering those ideas, planning your poem in a very visual way. So moving those ideas around. After that, I want you to start to draft your poem. So you're going to start to think about how you're going to link the words and phrases to create this narrative poem. So I've said here to tell the story in the poem. So how are you going to link those ideas? And what I want you to really think about again is the toolbox, which we have on the next slide. And I want you to keep thinking about this as you work through and write your poems. So let's look at the toolbox together. So we've got our purpose and our audience. So you're going to perform this at the end of the week to friends and family, but also we'd really love you to publish your poem so it can go into your World War II scrapbook. So something you're really proud of, you can think about how you could illustrate the poem, just like when we publish in school. So let's think about now how you're going to, what the impact on the reader needs to be. So they need to really feel the emotion and drama of the events. This is a very dramatic scene, isn't it? If you think about it and think about those photographs and the sound, the audio and the video clips that you've watched, and also the description from Letters of the Lighthouse. The next impact that you're going to need to have is for the reader to be able to imagine the sights and sounds of the environment. So you're going to need to be using and thinking about the vocabulary you're choosing to really be able to, for the reader to picture that. And finally, you're going to need to show that contrast in your emotion and in your feelings before you go to the shelter, and then once you're in safety. And then perhaps again in that third verse, when you then leave the shelter, and that real change in the feeling. How are you feeling in that first verse when you hear the sirens go? How is that different then to the second verse when you're underground in your shelter? And finally, in that third verse, when you emerge after being in the underground shelter to see the devastation that's come over the city. So thinking about what techniques we need to use to have this impact, we need to think about powerful verbs that really show that emotion and movement. So rather than ran, perhaps we're going to use darted. Rather than push, perhaps we use jostled. Thinking about the interaction as well between the other people that are there in the scene, in the event. Thinking about appropriate adjectives that really show the sights and sounds. So think about carefully choosing your adjectives. So rather than using something that's a sort of simple adjective, or you maybe need to write a few words, is there just one word that you can choose that really creates that image for the reader? Thinking about the description and using your senses. So what can you smell? What can you taste? What can you hear? And hopefully the audio and visual elements and the pictures as well will really help you to have created that word bank that includes some of those the sensory descriptions. And then also, if you can include some simile or metaphor for impact, and we've got an example of a metaphor here. Swamped by a wave of panic, I darted forward. I darted towards safety. So again, not only have we got the metaphor there, we've got this powerful verb, darted, to show the movement. But swamped by a wave of panic, that's metaphor, because that's not actually, you're not swamped and there's no wave, physical wave, is it? Remember, it's our figurative language. So that's what you're going to be doing today, thinking about this toolbox and how you can use some of these techniques to achieve this impact when you're writing your poem. So you've got your 3 verses, which you've got your word banks for. Go back and look at the PowerPoint to remind yourself the focus of each of those verses. And then good luck with your writing today.